I'm the MC for the evening, so you'll see me come in and out a little bit today, but what we're announcing tonight and what we're doing tonight, it barely needs an MC, to be honest. We're building the library of the future here. We need your help with that. We want you involved in it. We want everybody here to play a part in it. I hope you've all been checking out the stations we worked so hard on. Been showing you how we digitize films, how we scan books, how we play old video games, how we do stuff. We do stuff here. Hey, Brewster, you around? You in the house?
Welcome to the open world. Welcome to the Internet Archive. This is completely fantastic. Oh, and are you enjoying those seat cushions that are the .com T-shirts that are making the pews a little bit more comfortable? Well, we asked last year for donations of .com T-shirts, and boy, did you guys come through. So hopefully you're enjoying it. But welcome to the Internet Archive. This is actually a big deal for us. We've only once in our past made a change in direction. And this is one of those nights we're announcing a change in direction for the Internet Archive. And it involves you guys. So this is going to be a participatory year coming up if we can do this successfully. The whole idea of what we're doing is we're going to build libraries together. That's our new theme. And it's a big difference. When we started this place in 1996, the idea was to just build an archive of the internet. People were going and putting their souls into going and pouring what it is they knew into the World Wide Web and other services. And the idea was to go and build an archive of it so that you could go and do data mining and searching and da-da-da-da-da. And actually, we've done a pretty good job of that, I would say. So just the web collection, I'm told by those that know how to count so high, we now have 430 billion web pages at Rock. It's growing at about 1 billion pages a week. So it's starting to get big out there. It's, I don't know, 9 petabytes of data. And if you crane your necks and look at these machines that are in the back, those are 5 petabytes out of our 19 petabytes. And one thing that I find really cool is the lights on them blinking mean that somebody's either uploading something or downloading something from the Internet Archive. So it's getting about 2 to 3 million people a day coming and using not just the web collection, but the whole collections. And it puts us around the 200th most popular website in the world, which I think is pretty darn cool. So it turns out people want old stuff. Which is a good sign. And so we got good at collecting the World Wide Web and going and making this thing available again. And then we found, well, there's a lot of things that weren't on the internet yet. So we sort of swiveled around 2002 and we became an archive on the internet. So the idea was to go and work with others that had collected amazing things or expertise in these different subject areas and basically went and made copies that were permanently available. Or we worked with people like Rick Pralinger or libraries around the world that had movies or books and started to make them available and digitize them cost effectively to bring them to the screen generation, to make it so that these materials would be able to be used by people. So we're an archive on the internet. So we got better at doing movies and music, television, so recording television from around the world, which is starting in the year 2000, and now we've been making that more and more available. And then getting really good at book scanning. But what the idea is to go and get archive onto the internet. But fundamentally, these were collections that were built by other people in other ways. And what we found more and more, some of the demands that we've been having from users and all sorts of stuff, is what they really want to do is have a presence, a permanent presence on the internet, one that they can trust, that'll try to be there for a long time and not just kind of get sold out and say, oops, sorry, we're going to turn you off. The idea of a permanent presence that reflects their community. And their communities are not just, there's a whole social systems that have evolved around these websites to go and who gets to put things up, how do they work, what's the quality metrics, and so they want a place to go, these content-based communities and institutions, a place to go and put things. And users want to be able to know where things come from, but they also want to be able to search above and beyond. So what we've been finding is people want to build libraries together. Can we go and make tools and structures to be able to have content-based communities, people that have as part of their worlds these different books, music, video, whatever it is that defines them, be able to find a home, have the rules and regulations that make sense to them for going and putting things up, and have end users be able to search all of it and make sense of it. Wikipedia made text able to be a collaborative project to go and pull this whole thing off. WordPress made wonderful tools for lots of people to make websites, mostly blogs, but also other things. And they made it easy to go and make it so that you could make a website and do sets of blogs. Can we, and this is an open question, and it's a question for all of us, can we all build the tools to make it so that these communities that have books, music, video, rich, they made it metadata types, and can they go and put things in central places in such a way that they have enough owning and controlling and figuring that it's kind of theirs, but loose enough to make it so that it makes sense as a whole, that if you take the union of these collections, that you can then build something much, much more than just having a whole pile of websites with the different scans of different things. And that is our challenge. And we've dedicated the Internet Archive, and we're turning the Internet Archive over the last year to basically build this vision. And tonight, what you're going to see is the first demonstration of a bunch of these tools that are still in development, but to show kind of the direction of where it is we're going with all of this. So this is I'd say it's an exciting turning point, a maturing, if you will, of the Internet Archive, and I think even of the open communities, to be able to build tools together that make it make sense for patrons, end users, kids, anybody, can find their way through and build their own libraries together. So that's the theme for the evening. Thank you. Well, we thought the machines were going to save us. We thought the machines were going to do it all. We thought that if we just archived the World Wide Web and had our spiders go out there and crawl it all, that we would be done. And we weren't. Really, we needed people to help every step of the way. We thought we'd just go out there and just digitize all of the books and we'd be done. And it turns out that's not really the process either. That there are collections that really reflect the communities that have built them, that love them, that understand them, and they have to be brought and kept alive together in the digital world in the same way that they have come together in the physical world. The television, we thought all we have to do is just archive television from around the world. We started in the year 2000. Rod Hewitt, who's here, worked for 12 years collecting 20 channels, Russian, Chinese, Japanese, Iraqi, Al Jazeera, BBC, CNN, in 24 hours a day. We thought we had it. But it turns out that's not it. That you actually need people to go and find bits and pieces, put it in new context, put it in new user interfaces so that you can actually understand your world in new and different ways. And I would say that music has been the same basic issue all along. And it's actually been one where we've had some learning of this all along. So in the area of music, we started with music with actually a suggestion from John Eisen, who was an intern at that point, building a website for the Internet Archive. And he said, you know, Brewster, you talk about all this storage and stuff, but what are we going to do? How are we going to make that available? And there's this taper community that goes and records concerts and trades them. And I said, well, I remember that. I had my cassette tapes from the Grateful Dead with all the little notes as exactly where did the cassette tape. He said, that's been going on now even in the digital world, but they've got a problem. They don't believe in compression because they know about the generation loss problems, so their files are huge, And they go and put it up on a university server for a while. They broadcast it out to the email list, etree.org, and say, hey, this Dead show is up, or this other band's concert is up, and lots of people will just descend on it, try to get it, until the university sysadmins say, stop. And they shut it down, and it'll all go down. And they basically would just have these little buckets. There was a distributed archiving infrastructure, yet there was no way to go and store and make it access. I said, okay, why don't you write an email note to this community and offer them unlimited storage, unlimited bandwidth forever for free? So he did, like this way, sent it off. Email came back from the etree.org and said, we don't believe you. It's too big. But if you could do it, it would be our dream. So it's always a good sign when somebody says, it'll be your dream. So he said, try us. Let's work together. Let's see if we can make this happen. And it's different to go and tape trade than it is to go and have it on a hosted website. So let's get some level of permission from the bands. It could be the drummer, it could be kind of anybody. Why don't we get somebody to say it's okay from each of these communities to go and put these things up? And we started getting bands. Actually, they started getting bands sending us emails saying, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And then once that was on our website, then groups started to go all over the country and all over the world, going and posting that band's concerts. Cool. It was going at 1, 2, then 3 bands a day. We were starting to get 5, 10, 15, and we were sort of stabilized at about 40 to 50 concerts per day. And actually, at this point, we have now over 6,000 bands and 130,000 concerts up on the net. And this is a very particular, picky crowd. And it basically showed us, and it actually drove our webmasters nuts to try to deal with them, to build the tools to make it so that they could go and do their own thing. And it turns out that the Grateful Dead community is nuts in completely different ways, and they have their own rules, and now we have 9,000 concert recordings of the Grateful Dead, and it may be one of the more famous things that we're famous for, the Wayback Machine and having everything the Grateful Dead has ever done. But it showed us how to basically try to support communities, and there's more of them. There was a community called the Internet Underground Music Archive. It came before MP3 was standardized. So these were an AIFF, if you remember the bad old days of audio formats, and they put these things up and they shared them on the internet in the early 1990s, and then they went through a set of acquisitions and went bluff, as basically all corporations do. But some fans went and archived it and gave it to us in the last year, and we went and put it up, and now we have 43,000 albums from that community up once again. And it's actually quite popular again. So it's like, yay, this is working. Another example we had were net labels. As labels were starting to go out of business, a lot of the little ones just couldn't make it go. They just couldn't make any form of business model work, but they loved curating materials, and they just needed a place to host it. And Simon Carlos came up with this and coined this term, net labels, when he worked at the Internet Archive, and he just said, why don't we go and help them? So they basically go and put things up, and they can put up new labels, the new collections, and often they have their own websites, and they deep link into the Internet Archive's collections in such a way that they make it all come about. And now there are 2,000 net labels and 54,000 albums on those labels up and thriving on the internet, which is cool. So we're making some progress in the idea of supporting communities in the music world, kind of despite ourselves, actually. So we thought, why don't we take it seriously and see if we can not only hear just music, but all of the Internet Archive. And that's actually been some of the inspiration of the change that you're seeing in us tonight. But we wanted to go for the recorded sound collections of CDs, LPs, 78s, and web era distribution of paid materials. And how do we do that without ending up, well, in trouble or making people mad? How can we do it respectfully, in such a way that it supports musicians and people that are still trying to make money out of making the whole music world work. And we're really launching tonight with few initial partners and looking for more partners in each of these category areas. One is labels that are actively serving and offering for pay CDs or the like. We want them to work with us. And we reached out to some of our friends and said, what if we went and archived your materials respectfully, and you get to help figure out how we can make it available. And I'd like to do a call out for Musica Omnia and other minds that are a couple here in the audience. There's David Fox, Andrew's here, that are part of these communities that have basically said, yes, here are our CDs, let's digitize these, and let's figure out how far we can go in such a way that it's a good balance between the commercial constraints of real labels with the interests of what you can do if you have it all in one place. Another fantastic partnership I'm really happy to announce tonight is with the Archive of Contemporary Music in New York City. This is run by a complete wacko named Bob George, who happens to be in the audience. And 29 years ago, he started going and collecting important hip-hop and New York City collection discs, and couldn't find a library that would go and run with it after he said, I'm kind of done with this. And nobody would take them. And so Bob George said, okay, there's room for an archive, and made the Archive of Contemporary Music. And it's got a couple million LPs and about 350,000 or 500,000 CDs. It is a fantastic collection, and we're now working with him to go and help digitize the CDs in his collection and eventually the LPs to be able to go and explore how we can bring these collections, at least preservation, at least some level of research and scholarship, and who knows, maybe there's some new services that would be the kind of Shazam or Pandora of the next generation, because you could go and bring these together. And then thank you very much, Bob George. Please stand up. So another is we're starting to get collections donated. The KUSF LP collection was donated, and Bob George arranged for us to get an unbelievable 78 RPM record collection from the Batavia Public Library. And this just arrived, the second allotment of it, and it is an absolutely huge collection of these materials that a lot of libraries are just not knowing what to do with. They wanted them accessible in some way or another, but people are just not picking up a lot of 78s and putting them on turntables, or LPs, and in fact even CDs. I'm starting to feel pretty old these days when they're not even CD players in cars or in laptops. So even that technology is kind of on its way out. But how are we going to then bring this at least into digital form to preserve it? It's not going to be done, I think, by a big company coming along that says, oh, we're just going to own all of this. Well, actually, maybe that'll happen, but then they'll drop the ball. But anyway, I think it's going to be done in a distributed system with fanatics, with people that really care about these. And if we can make tools that can make it so that people that are really into jazz, or really into this hip-hop, or really into these Congolese drummers, if there can be different communities that come together to build their own worlds that are within themselves, give them the recognition and importance and the metadata and the curation and the reason and all of that, but is also still makes sense to end users that just might want to surf around and now see what it is they're singing in Angola, or what's going on in Cuba in 1940s jazz, that we can make that easy. And we're making tools now to be able to digitize CDs and LPs, and in such a way that lots of people can be able to do this. They're not quite ready for full distribution, but we've got now a volunteer set here in the Internet Archive that are awesome. That are the volunteers here? Well, yay! Woo! Thank you very much. And at the Archive of Contemporary Music, they're also going and digitizing, but we want this to basically be a global project to go and build these together. And one of the motivations, we've got a couple of things that we'd like to do with this collection right off the bat, and we're already just starting, is one is give access to computer science researchers that are trying to get access to these to be able to do these interesting new services. Daniel Ellis is one of sort of the 300 world computer science ethnomusicologists that are going and studying music using computers. And he says that the key thing that's slowing down the research and innovation in his area is access to a critical mass, a comprehensive collection, a comprehensive archive of commercial music. And I'm happy to say that we're now running Daniel Ellis's code, starting along on all of the net labels, and we'll rip through all the rest of it to go and do his audio fingerprinting across millions, 10 million more tracks out in the Internet Archive. So thank you, Daniel Ellis, and we're getting there. There's another university, one in Barcelona, UPF, that has built technology for not only fingerprinting, but also for finding rhythmic structures, so you can tell mambas from tangos, which is pretty freaking cool, chord structures, if they're women or men singing, and doing that sort of analysis, beats per minute, to be able to go and make it so that we can surf through these materials in new and different ways. And we've just started going and running their low-level analysis on our collections, which I think is a really good start for doing, in the open, things that can help us understand and explore our musical heritage much better. And we've got a listening room. So at least, if you've got the physical stuff, the idea of having a listening room that if you slog your bones into the Internet Archive, snap on some headphones, that you can have access to the whole collection. Over 10 million songs are available on those little iPads. You've probably seen the little area down there. And the idea is to try to make it so this is available to all. So we've got these couple of approaches. We'd like to make a metadata-rich website next and trying to bring some level of access to this. But first, we've got to work together to go and build our music libraries together. So please help. But one more thing. How are we going to weave this together? The Internet Archive has concentrated mostly on just trying to collect and protect the collections. And if you've used our website, it kind of looks like it's a 10-year-old website, because it's a 10-year-old website. About a year ago, we said, let's go and work really hard to try to figure out how to make a new website that's not only really terrific to use on today's devices, but can be a platform for us to supporting the communities coming together to build their own presences. We're now at a point where we are at a stepping stone, where we've basically repeated and replaced the functionality of the existing website with a modern website. And I'd like to show that to you for the first time tonight. And we'll invite you to use it. It doesn't have the next steps, which we're going to have to work together with you all on to make it so that you can customize different parts of it in more fluid fashion. But it's already so freaking cool, I want to show it to you. Okay. So, it's under construction. And if you remember those little under construction signs, well, let's see if I can. Open. Where's Star Trek when you need it? Okay, I'm gonna do it again. And it's gonna work this time. Here. Huh. So, how under construction is it? It's really under construction. These are the under construction banners that were saved from the GeoCities websites by archive team. They're awesome. They keep going. They keep getting better. There was a lot of construction going on in the early 1990s. Okay, all right, it keeps going, but it's still really worthwhile. There's some awesome animated GIFs. We just need more animated GIFs out there, I think. Oh, yeah, pretty girls with under construction signs, Homer Simpson. Anyway, we're under construction, do you get it? Okay, so here we go. You go to archive.org. V2, and you get a nice, bright, shiny, new website, a little slowly, that is able to bring together and make surfable the 12 million objects that we have. Here's the Wayback Machine that you're familiar with, and then there's the rest of the Internet Archive, and a cool, faceted search system to be able to make more sense. Yeah, okay, so we even have a little responsiveness going on. Okay, all right, okay. It's sort of assumed, but it certainly isn't there with our existing website. If you want to search on something, I'm going to go for Occupy Wall Street. Well, this was a community project to go and archive a lot of materials around the whole Occupy. And we have a much more graphically oriented website now. We've got the infinite scroll kind of thing going on that makes it just a lot more fun to play around. And if you say, oh, okay, well, that's kind of interesting, but I'd really just like to see the movies. You click on the movies, filters just for the movies, click on something, play it. He's an awesome guy.
My name is Giuseppe Balagoon. I'm the program and outreach coordinator of the Direct Forum. The reason I'm here today and the reason I've been here the past couple of weeks is because Occupy Wall Street.
So the idea is to make it much more fun and interactive to be able to find your way through these collections. You can favorite things, you can share them, and the like. And one of the big things that's different is you are suddenly starting to be present in this website. So the idea of having user pages that have their favorites, these are my favorites that I've been collecting over the years, but basically never been able to find very well, and are now on my page that I can now go and share with others. So these are the collections that I've built over time. And all in all, makes it a lot more fun. Okay, this is a cool one from SIGGRAPH from 2001, and it's just, and I never get tired of it. So the idea I'll just let this play for a while. So the idea of this website is to make it fun and frolicky, to not only surf and find materials within it, but to also make it possible so that we can start to go and add things into the Internet Archive and create collections and full-on libraries within a common set of tools and structures that allow people to find their way through it and still keeps the integrity and the importance of individual collections. So that is our evening tonight. I want to thank you very much.